Airlines going bankrupt. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my stein of coffee and I thought we'd have a look at this article from news.com that's discussing the risks of airlines going under and the significant number of flight reductions from Qantas as one example. We just saw recently how Dutch airline KLM cut, 2,000 staff, and how British Airways cutting staff and are grounding airlines, how travel is reducing, and this is a big part. International travel is a big part of our tourism industry. Australia is a destination. Tourism was a $60 billion part of our economy, about 3% of GDP. We'll have to see the hit that takes. So with the airlines, the airline workers, the airport workers, they're all going to cop it, guys. This is going to be a part of the economy that's going to take a hit. We'll have to see how, sadly, all the baggage handlers I think they've just won some better conditions, I think that may all go out the window. They may lose their jobs. So the illness could lead to major airlines bankrupt by May. Sydney-based Kappa Centre for Aviation warns. Most of the world's major airlines could be bankrupt by May, an aviation expert has warned, as countries clamp down on borders and travellers cancel in droves. Well, there you go. I mean, is this an issue? Or is it going to be the opportunity for more nimble airlines to emerge out of the ruins of the failing ones? Most of the world's airlines will be bankrupt by the end of May 2020 due to the ongoing effects of the illness, a Sydney-based aviation consultant has warned. The Kappa Centre for Aviation made the dramatic prediction as countries lock down their borders in light of the spread of the illness, which has caused more than 170,000 infections and 6,500 deaths around the world. European nations like Spain, Italy and France have introduced strict lockdowns for tens of millions of citizens, while countries like the US, Australia and New Zealand have either banned flights entirely or forced residents to go into self-isolation for 2 weeks on arrival. Kappa Aviation said the impact could wipe out the aviation industry entirely unless governments act quickly in a coordinated effort. As the impact of the illness and multiple government travel restrictions sweep through our world, many airlines have probably already been driven into technical bankruptcy, or at least substantially in the breach of debit covenants, it said. Cash reserves are running down quickly as fleets are grounded, and what fleets there are operating much less than half full. Forward bookings are far outweighed by cancellations, and each time there is a new government recommendation, it is to discourage flying. Demand is drying up in ways that are completely unprecedented. Normality is not yet on the horizon. Well, no, it's not. It's not. This is a black swan event, everyone. This is something that people haven't planned for. The airlines haven't planned for this type of catastrophic risk. Here are the recommendations from Australia, where we need to reconsider our travel to everywhere, everywhere, even to Greenland and Iceland, and do not travel to Italy, Iran or China. The company warned governments are failing to cooperate, citing President Trump's decision to ban flights from Europe, which came as a surprise to EU leaders. National self-interest over cooperation is the evolving threat to aviation, it said, arguing that fragmented airline industries is critical to global communications and trade. Well, maybe it's time that national self-interest starts being put ahead over businesses. I mean, these businesses should have enough resources to survive. A lot of the airline industries Qantas was started as the national carrier. As things stand, the likely tepid response to the airline crisis will equally be fragmented and nationally based. It will consist mostly of bailing out selected national airlines. Well, should they be bailed out? Should they be bailed out? Should these airlines start selling some of their resources, their planes they don't need? Is this an opportunity for new airlines to emerge? This is the thing, guys. Sometimes these businesses that aren't robust enough to survive this, aren't efficient enough to survive this, maybe they need to refresh. Maybe a new leadership needs to take it over. Maybe it needs to be split apart and rebuilt. Because that's what happens in the world. If that is the default position, emerging from the crisis will be like entering a brutal battlefield littered with casualties. Oh, I mean, it's business. Come on. Seriously. So dramatic. The warning comes as airlines are forced to slash their flying schedules, shed jobs, and seek government help in response to the clamping down of global borders. United Airline Holdings Incorporated booked $1.5 billion less revenue in March than the same time last year and warned employees that planes could be flying nearly empty into the summer, even after severe flight cuts, Reuters reported. United said it would cut corporate officers' salary by 50% and reduce flight capacity by about 50% in April and May, with deep capacity cuts also expected into the summer travel period. This crisis is also moving really quickly. United Chief Executive Oscar Munoz and President Scott Kirby said in a memo to employees on Sunday. Things worsened over the weekend as Spain declared a state of emergency. The Trump administration added Britain and Ireland to its list of countries facing travel curbs, and Australia and New Zealand said all travellers would have to self-isolate for 14 days. We call on Congress and the White House to take all measures available to protect the health and payroll of American workers, said Sarah Nelson, president of the Association of Flight Attendants, which represents 50,000 US flight attendants at 20 airlines including United. UK Airlines called on the British government to help ensure their survival, while Germany's TUI AG and Scandinavia's carrier SAS said they would suspend the vast majority of operations due to the outbreak and apply for government support. Air New Zealand said job losses would be necessary as it cuts long-haul capacity by 85% over the coming months. We are now accepting that for the coming months, at least Air New Zealand will be a smaller airline requiring fewer resources, including people, Air New Zealand Chief Executive Greg Foran said in a statement. Qantas Airways Limited said it would be making fresh cuts to its flying schedule beyond the 25% reduction in international capacity announced last week due to new travel restrictions. UBS analysts said the latest travel restrictions would have a significant effect on Qantas's international travel, which historically accounted for about 45% of revenue and 25% of earnings before interest and tax. A downside scenario, where international traffic is down 50% for a whole year and domestic down 30%, could result in cash burn of up to $200 million per month after incorporating changes to the business, UBS said to Qantas. Smaller rival Virgin Australia Holdings, which has a weaker balance sheet but a heavier domestic focus, said it was assessing its response to the new travel restrictions. S&P Global Ratings downgraded its credit rating on Virgin to B-, placed it on credit watch, negative due to rapidly deteriorating industry conditions, spreading from the international market to the domestic markets. And if we have a look here at this other article, guys. So Qantas is cutting 90% of international flights. Qantas will slash international flights by 90% until the end of May in a fresh round of illness-related cuts, equivalent to grounding 150 aircraft. Qantas and Jetstar announced on Tuesday the additional deeper reductions in their domestic and international flying schedules as travel bans intensify and consumers bunker down amid widening quarantine measures. The national carrier's total international capacity will now be cut by 90% from the end of March to at least the end of May, up from 23% four-quarter reduction announced last week. Gross domestic capacity will be cut by 60% until at least the end of May, up from 5%. The route-by-route detail of the changes across Qantas and Jetstar's schedule is being worked through and will be announced in coming days. The accelerated flight cuts come after government announced at the weekend international travellers to Australia are required to self-isolate for 14 days upon arrival. Tourism Minister Simon Birmingham said at the weekend that airlines had enough cash reserves to remain viable for now, but did not rule out a bailout to stop Qantas and other carriers going under. So, I mean, would you want a bailout for Qantas, guys? I know a lot of people probably wouldn't want a bailout for Qantas. They should sell assets, sell their old planes, sell other investments. Maybe fire that CEO that's so political. Get rid of him. That'll be a good saving. I'm sure an app on a phone could make the media tweets that he does. What do you think, guys? Because remember, government bailout, that's essentially your tax money given to a private business. Private business doesn't need it. They should be able to survive. Would you invest in Qantas? How many of you right now are buying Qantas shares? Let me know in the comments. And then how many of you are shorting Qantas shares? Let me know in the comments as well. And we'll see. We'll see. Maybe the government should just short Qantas shares. What do you reckon, guys? Not having airlines in Australia is not negotiable, but the airlines at present tell me and assure me they are viable. You'll have airlines in Australia. People will come back. They'll scale back, guys. Seriously. It's ludicrous. If we don't have an airline, you need emergency travel. Don't we have an air force that we spend a fortune on? Airlines around the world are reeling as containment measures tighten in an attempt to halt the spread of the illness. Companies have slashed flight schedules, and jobs have frozen executive pay and are seeking government aid as border restrictions tighten. Air New Zealand announced on Tuesday it would cut 13 routes to Australia and would run just 20% of regular trans-Tasman capacity. It will take off from Wellington and Christchurch for Australia just twice a week to Sydney. It's not ruling out further cuts. Virgin Australia on Friday suspended full-year earnings guidance, as it also flagged further reductions in its Los Angeles, Japan and trans-Tasman services, as well as announcing the exit of Auckland services to and from Tonga and the Cook Islands. Meanwhile, shares in Regional Express entered a trading halt for unspecified reasons on Tuesday. The company said the halt will remain until Thursday or until it makes a sooner announcement. Qantas said on Tuesday previously announced flight cuts in place for the end of May to mid-September will remain in place. They're likely to increase depending on demand, which is expected to be subdued for weeks or possibly months. The airline also flagged the precipitous decline in demand and resulting cuts meant it was confronted with a significant labour surplus. Qantas said it was working to manage the impact on its 30,000-strong workforce as much as possible, including through the use of paid and unpaid leave. Some domestic passenger aircraft will be used for freight-only flights to replace lost capacity from regular scheduled services. Qantas's fleet of freighters will continue to be fully utilised. The company has already announced a 3-month pay freeze for Chief Executive Alan Joyce and Chairman Richard Goyder, significant pay cuts for executive management and board members, and cancelling of annual bonuses and an off-market buyback. There you go. So, the changes are available for Qantas, Jetstar and Qantas Inc.'s flights and apply until March 31st for travel until May 31st. Qantas shares spiked at open but soon lost ground and at one stage were hovering just above Monday's more than 3-year low of $2.83. Qantas shares have shed nearly 2/3 of their value since hitting a record high of $7.46 in December. So there you have it, guys. There you have it. The potential for airlines to go bust all around the world. Calls for government bailouts into airlines and businesses. What do you think? Do you think the government should intervene? Or do you think this should be an opportunity for new players to come in and run a better ship? Particularly for Qantas. What do you reckon? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, guys. I feel sorry for the people that are going to be affected by this, but this is not going to be an isolated case. Australia's heading to a recession. Unemployment is going to spike. It's going to be tough times. Take care, everyone. Like, share, and subscribe. If you're a fan of the channel, please share the content, get the videos out there. If you want to help us produce more content, there's a few ways you can. Sharing the videos, helping the channel grow, that's one of the best ways. You can also support us financially via Patreon or by joining the channel here on YouTube. You can use our affiliate links for Amazon or eBay when you make consumer purchases, or Independent Reserve and Kucoin for your crypto trading. We have merch available from the HeiseSays website or the Teespring link below. And finally, PayPal for those of you that want to contribute that way. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.